Okay, so before I move on, there's something important that I need to address. You may have noticed that this screen lists 3 companies: Nintendo, Game Freak, and Creatures. So who owns Pokemon? Let's break it down. Game Freak came up with the idea and approached Nintendo to publish their game. As a result, Nintendo owns the trademarks, and Creatures helped Game Freak to finish Pokemon in exchange for a share of the IP. This was because Game Freak was running out of money for Pokemon's development, so Creatures came in and saved the day. Now it's important to note that Satoru Iwata was a member of the board for Creatures Inc., and he acted as an intermediary between Creatures Ishihara and Nintendo. Iwata himself was president of HAL Lab at the time. Now with that out of the way, let's continue. After Red and Green were released, the team immediately started to work on a sequel. They had big ambitions, going as far as to call it the ultimate Pokemon game. To take advantage of the Game Boy Color's improved hardware, the team wanted to cram in as many new features as possible. All was going to plan, and the team even managed to release 2 special editions while developing new games. Pokemon Blue was first, and was released in October of 1996 as a limited edition version of the original game featuring new sprites. It then saw a general release in 1998. The special version was Pokemon Yellow and allowed players to choose Pikachu as their starting Pokemon and have their Pokemon follow them in the overworld. This version was released in 1998, which was the year Gold and Silver was supposed to be released. As a result of this, Ishihara decided it would be best not to rush the development of Gold and Silver. So you think it'd be smooth sailing from there on out, right? Unfortunately for the devs, Nintendo's president at the time, Hiroshi Yamaguchi, saw the success of Pokemon Red and Green in Japan and wanted the game to be localized for American audiences. This was bad news for the team, as it meant the release date of Pokemon Gold and Silver would have to be pushed back. So in order to make sure both projects could be done in a timely manner, Ishihara and Satoru Iwata came together to discuss the best ways to localize Red and Green. Being the programming genius that he was, Iwata said, "Dear Game Freak, please focus on making Gold and Silver. I will localize Red and Green's whole structure without hearing anything from you." Wow, I've got to give Mr. Iwata props where it's due, because that must have been a huge effort on his part. So it was decided Iwata would handle the engineering side of it, and Game Freak would handle the creative aspect. Thanks to Mr. Iwata's help, Pokemon Red and Green were released in 1998 for American consumers as Pokemon Red and Blue. The game did exceptionally well in America, largely thanks to the anime establishing a presence before the game was released. As for Gold and Silver, they were released on the 21st of November in 1999 in Japan, and in the following year for America. The game sold exceptionally well, selling over 1 million units within the first week in Japan alone. When you start the game, the first thing you see is a much longer, more detailed intro cutscene in glorious color. In fact, the game introduced a slew of new features such as Pokemon genders, a new region, and shiny Pokemon. But more importantly, the game added 100 new Pokemon to encounter and 2 new types, bringing the total number of types to 17. In terms of the story, well, let's be honest, no one plays Pokemon for the story. The premise is largely the same. Collect gym badges, become champion, stop an evil team, all the while you have a rival that's just constantly pestering you along the way. The story of the game actually takes place 3 years after Red and Green. With Team Rocket presumed to be disbanded, everyone is happy. Now it is up to you, another young boy, to embark on his very own Pokemon journey. Once you step outside, you'll notice the world looks way more detailed and, dare I say, immersive thanks to the added day-night cycle. What's more, different Pokemon would appear at different times of the day, adding to the immersion. For example, during the day you might only find Sentret in a patch of grass, but then during the night you can actually find a different Pokemon, such as Noctowl. I'm also really glad that they fixed the sprites as well. No more deformed Pidgeys. The Team Rocket subplot isn't as interesting this time around. They commit the same atrocities, only they want to reform Team Rocket with their leader Giovanni. Honestly, I don't think the game even needed Team Rocket, they were pretty much irrelevant for the most part. The rival also felt like a jerk for the sake of being a jerk. I know they're trying to reinforce the whole Pokemon are our friends idea, but you'd think this guy would learn after being told repeatedly he should treat his Pokemon with more respect. Funny how people ask him to respect Pokemon but not people, even though he shows no respect for either, but whatever. The battle mechanics were largely the same, aside from some small differences like the special stat being split into special attack and special defense. There was little reason to change the battle mechanic, since the devs wanted to make the game more accessible to everyone. Quoting Masuda in an interview, having a lot more action-packed gameplay or some kind of gameplay that required timed button presses, it might be too difficult for some people, especially those who aren't used to playing games, which I don't really agree with. I mean, have a look at any of the Mario RPGs. However, I will agree that the turn-based combat works best for Pokemon, especially the competitive scene that later spawned. Quite possibly the best feature in Gold and Silver wasn't even a new feature at all. Once you finish the main plot, you can travel to Kanto and challenge their gyms and become champion there as well. When I found out this was possible, it blew my mind. Although some areas were cut down, it was there. The Kanto region in all its beauty was free for you to explore, and we have one man to thank for that. Satoru Iwata. He managed to develop a compression tool that freed up enough space so that Kanto could fit into the game cartridge. Now, if you didn't think this man was a legend before, you certainly will now. Okay, so that wraps up part 2 of the retrospective, and I'm going to put the Pokemon retrospective series on hiatus for now and move on to other games. This is largely because Pokemon is a rather formulaic series, so I want to break it up with other retrospectives. I have a few ideas, but comment down below what you'd like to see. I hope this doesn't disappoint you. If you like the video, then please give it a thumbs up, subscribe for more content, and thank you for watching.